Right. So hello and good afternoon, everyone. So thank you again for joining our free online lessons. My name is Nabil Fikri, an application engineer from ACAD Systems. So for today's free online lessons, I'd like to share with you about the invented tube and pipe. Right, so over here, this will be our agenda for today. So first of all, to create tube and pipe, so we're going to take a look at the content center first, because tube and pipe is actually based, which actually come from the content center itself. Right, and then I'm going to just show you a little bit introduction about tube and pipe. Right, and then we're going to get started and adjusting the style setting first. And then we can start to create pipe creations, and then follow up with tube and 3D sketch, and lastly for the flexible hose. Right, so let me show the inventor. So currently what I have here is an example that already been created. So I have this particular tube pipe and also hose, which is part of the tube and pipe. So the first of all, what we see here at the top here is the piping, right? And then this piping will have this elbow. And then the second one, we have this tube. So tube basically the same with the pipe, right? So the way that you create is the same. Then it's just that it doesn't have the elbow itself, but it is welded together, right? And then we have the hose here, the flexible hose that we're going to take a look at this. Right. So first of all, the tube and pipe is actually based on the content center, like I mentioned before. So if we take a look at the platform content center here, so over here we have tube and pipe. Now if you open up this one, you have the conduits. Right. So for the hose, the pipe, right, and then we have the fittings. Maybe you want to add a cross, a T, elbow, so you can just basically take it from here. Maybe I want to take a T, for example. Right, and then I can just pick the size that I require. So I can place over here, and then I can start to use the constraint tools to basically apply this constant part into the system over here. Right, so it is worth mentioning that you need to have the library for the content center is on. So for my case, I put on for everything, all of this. So if you only need to use ISO, you can just filter other things out. But for this case, I'm just going to use everything from here. Right. And to start off, we can take a look at the sample that we already have over here. So first of all, I have this tube and pipe run here. Right. So I have the first run, which is the piping, the tube for the second one, and the hose. And then you can see the structure of our tube and pipe is actually they create one top assembly, and then you can have multiple piping inside. And then this piping, you can also have the you can also have the route to indicate where the piping will go through. So that is the route. Right, so let me just delete this one. Let me just delete. So to start at our tube pipe, we can go to the environment over here. Now on the begin here, you can select tube and pipe from here, and you can create, and then you can see it will add the new run, which is run number 4, right? It will drop down from here. So all of this name, right? So you can also configure before you create your tube pipe. So to configure that, the default name, you can go to the tools, the application options, you can go to the files. Down here, you should have the file name in default from here, right? So this one is for frame generator. When I click tube pipe, then you can see, so the first one we have the default name, right? So when I first create the tube pipe, so this will be the name. And I can also rename that later on, right? So this will be the top level assembly. Then you have the run assembly over here, right? So maybe I don't want this to be run. I can just rename, then follow up with the automatic index number from here. Same goes with down here. We also have the routes, the elbow, and so on. Right, so if I just simply go to the environment and create tune pipe, so it will automatically create a new run from here because we already have tune pipe already added. So if you start with 0 like this, right? So first of all, you need to save first. So in my case, I already saved this assembly files. Then you can go to the environment, tune pipe. So this will be the top level assembly, the name here. Then you have the run, right? The first run here. So when I just click OK, it's going to create that, right? So the tube pipe run, and then we have the first run. So usually the run is what you will do to edit your to edit or create your piping and tube. But you can still go to the top level assembly, just double click here. But normally there's not much to see rather than just normal assembly kind of uh, editor from here. Right, so I'm just going to use the samples that I have from here. So let's get started. So I can create tube pipe. So tube pipe number 4. So I'm going to start with piping. So let me just name this one as pipe. So you have this run number 4, right, pipe, right? So this one usually it's should be only run 4. So since I automatically update, so it will add this file name from here, right? This one is just for the. Okay, so we already add on our first run. So over here we have the manage. This is where you can select what type of pipe or tube or hose that you can select from here. Then you have the tube and pipe style. So if you want to edit your piping, your diameters, what type of equipment or item that you would like to create, right? So this will be the editor from here for this tube and pipe. So just one notes here, you can just proceed to the new route. But for the hydraulic hose, right, the hose and the tube and pipe is actually slightly different. So if I open up this hose over here, so if I start from the hose here, I create new route, and I click OK. Then when you go into the manage over here, you can see there's only hose over here. So if you want to create host, you can select host and it will only show host. But for my case here, I don't want to create host yet. I would like to use tube pipe. So I can just select anywhere. Later on, I can just change. So I'm going to create a new route from here. Let me just delete the flexible host first. Right, so I'm selecting the piping. So I'll click new routes. Okay. Right, and then from here, you can just continue to select the item that you need. Maybe I would like for pipes, or maybe I would like for the tube, so I can just find from here, right? But you don't find the hose available from here anymore, right? Because it's slightly different things. So that's the thing, right? So this is the selections, what type of pipe that I want to use. For that, I also would like to edit first. So you can go to the tube and pipe styles, right? So there are a few stuff from here. There are 3 folders for different piping, tube, and also hose. So I'm going to use the default one, which is the first one from here. So I don't want to edit the original content. So I'm just going to create a copy instead. Right, so this will be the copy. So to edit this, right, so it's allowing you to edit the area on the right side here. So you can just right click and edit. And over here is the selections that you can pick, right? Maybe I would like to have my piping half diameter or maybe different, right? Maybe 1 inch. You can just select from here what type of appearance that I want. So it will show this gray here. Maybe I would like to have a red color. So I can just change from here if I want to, right? So we just, maybe I pick dark red, right? And then over here is the family or the type of pipe that you will be using. So if you would like to have different one, you Okay, just double click at the family and then you can select a different family from here. So this one is for pipe. We have for coupling. So if you want to have different one, you can just select from. If you want to add extra things, you can just stick from the top over here. Right? But for now, we just going to leave it as is. But we also have a rules that you can create over here. So maybe I have a pipe which is a length from 5 to 50, for example, and I would like to put the minimum and maximum value from here. So anytime that I want to create a pipe, it will not go below 5, and the maximum it will not go more than 50. Right? So that is the thing that you can create the rules. Right? So for now, I'm just going to use this one. I can save, but this one is not used first. You can just, let me just save first. Right, so if I want to use this one, you can just right click to activate. You can see this bold here indicate that this is item that currently being used. So I want this one, so I can just click active, or I can also just pull down from here, and I'm just going to select the copy that I created before. Right, so I'm done selecting that one. And then from here, I can start by creating a route from here. So I can just click a route. And then from here, I can start to place the route. So I'm just going to start create from the empty slot here. So I can just go to the either points or the whole area over here. And then I can start to add this part. So you can also make sure that your direction is correct. So if the direction is flipped, you can press a spacebar key to basically flip it around. So this will be the location that I want to start with. And then when I start, now I can start to extend my pipe. So you can see we have this value over here. So currently 1.8. So if I click it, it will not create because I already set the minimum and maximums. So it's going to be more than 5. So I'm going to put it somewhere around 7. I can just click anywhere if I want to, but if I want to be a bit parametric, I can also input the value from here. Let me just put it 6 over here and press enter. Oh, okay, let me just try again. Okay, let me just put it 10, for example. Okay, so 10, right? So I have that. Then I can continue. Then you can always go back and edit the value over here. So this one is basically a parametric dimension. Want to, can just go back and edit the value from here. And if I would like to change the directions, right, and the angle, so I have this angle over here that I can change. So currently I can able to rotate any degree that I want. Then I have at the front here, right, so I can click, and this one only limited for 45 degree only. But you can customize this later on, but for this case, we just leave it as is. So maybe I want slightly downwards, around, let's say, 135. And this one should be 7-inch. Then I can continue. Maybe make it 45 degree from here. Maybe this one is 10-inch, and so on. I can continue. So that is one of the way for you to create. So when I click OK from here, so currently you can set your display whether you want to view all or maybe route only. Right? So for this case, I can just leave it as is. So I click finish, and I have my piping created from here. But again, you can also switch from here if you only want to see line only. But I think it's better to see the overall pipe from here. Right, so the piping is created. So if I were to save this one, let me just finish first. And I were to save this one, it's going to create one folder for the new part that I create before. So if I go back and go over here, and you should be able to see this run number 4. So this is the one that I create. Right? So it will save it at a separate folder. and it has its own assembly, and then I can open this one up, right? So it's easy to manage, right? So since you have a separate file like this. Right, so that is one of the way to create it. So other ways, I can also use something like in automation, right? Auto route. Again, I'm going to go back to, let's say, I'm going to use the same one, the same brand, but I'm going to create a new route. So I'm going to create a new route from here, and I'm going to select, let's say, a route create from the top over here, right? So start from there, and then I would like to end somewhere, let's say below here, right? So when I click, it will automatically create a route for this to be connected, and it will allow you to select a segment, right? Which is something like selections, how you want the pipe to be. So I can just continue to click next, and it will allow me to pick which one that is suitable for my needs. So once I'm done, I can just click OK. So I have something like this, and this one is also automation. So if I just to move it, you can see it will automatically update the location and the size as well, But if I want to edit I'm not sure what's happening from here, but if I want to edit back the segment selection, so I can just go back at my run here, I can select the route, and should be able to select a different representation. Okay, I'm not sure where it is. Okay, so this one auto route. Right, maybe I don't want this route. I can go on this route over here, and then I can edit the auto route and pick the alternate solution. Right, so that is for piping, right? So tubing is basically the same thing. So if I create a new pipe run, let me just create a new pipe run. We're just going to name this one as a run number 5 for tubing. Then from here, right, I'm just going to select for the tube. Where is it? Okay, so solder it, copy tube. Right, so when I click around, just the slightly different here is that it does not have a connector that we see over here, which is the which is the elbow, right? So you can see it's something like this. Right. So if you want to create something more customizable, right, which is you create from the 3D sketch, right, you can also convert it into pipe, right? Maybe you create the 3D sketch first, and then later on you want to make it to pipe, you can do that. So what I can do here, let me just go back, and I'm just going to edit one of the assembly from here, and I'm going to add a 3D sketch. And this 3D sketch here, I would like to make it pipe. Okay, so I can continue if I want to. If I want to make a band, I can add a band. So let me just put somewhere around, let's say 5. Okay, I think 5 may be slightly too large. I'm not sure why. Okay, it's already created. Let me just edit the value from here. This one, let's say 5-inch. Click finish. This one, okay, actually this one I don't want. So let me just set this one to 0. Okay, let me just, okay, because it's automatically added when I create. So let me just undo this one instead. Okay, so it's automatically created. So I might accidentally on the bench somewhere. Okay, never mind. So I'm just going to create a sharp connection from here. Okay, still great. Let me just put 0 instead. Okay, never mind. Right. So I can click finish. This one I want to make slightly bigger. 5. So when I hit return, and I can go back to the Q4 run over here. Okay, for the tubing. Then this one, I would like to turn this into a tube. But also work with piping. You have an elbow. But since the curve here, so the elbow might not appear. But let me just test it first. Okay, so first of all, start with tubing. To create the 3D sketch into tube and pipe, you can use the derive route from here. So just click over here and it will automatically convert, right? So because the band radius problems that I have before, so it does not able to click automatically. So I'm not sure what happened with my 3D sketch here. Let me just try again one more time. Sketch. When I click a line here, should be there are one button that allow me to unselect. So that one does not appear. Okay, probably because of the Zoom recording. So for some reason, the value got glitched out, but that's okay. I'm just going to show one slide example that I can do it from here. Okay, so this one does not create. Okay, let me just add again. Then I want to add a band, 5. Okay, finish. Then I go back to my route here. So this route is not okay. So I will delete this one. Then I can add a new route and derive a route for this one. Right, so we have something like this. Okay, so for some reason it's still create a band, but that's okay. Right, so other settings that you can do, let's go back to our piping. So currently we have this elbow over here. Maybe you don't want this to be, okay, sorry. Maybe you would like to have a connection between two pipes, but not on elbow. So I can create a new route. This time I just create a new route from this point from here. And then I will continue to click from here. Then you will see we have a fitting over here, right? Which connect between two different parts. Maybe I don't want this to be fitting, so I can select different one. So I can edit from the tube and part style over here. Yeah, this one is, I think is tube. Let me just select different one. Yeah, I was meant to create piping instead, so I forgot to select. We just select a, let's say, jointed PVC. Right, so I have this connector over here, right? So maybe I don't want this, the connector, right? The coupling, right? So I want to have a flange instead, right? So you can just go back, edit, then you can turn on the flange, right? And then you will add a flange. But of course, it does not have any flange family here, so you need to double click to select the flange that you will be using. So once the flange is added, you should be able, good to go. So when I click OK, it should have added the flange instead of it, right? So that's the thing. Maybe I would like to have a custom elbow, so I can also edit and add a custom elbow from here, right? So I can browse and select a different elbow, but for this case, I don't have any library from here, so I'm just going to leave it as this. Right, so that is tube and pipe. And lastly, let's take a look at the, let me just close this. Right, so lastly, let's take a look at the hose, the flexible hose. So slightly different. can create a new part, and I'm just going to name this one as run number 7, flexible hose. All right, from here, again, I can create a new route. So just make sure for flexible hose, just select the hose from here first. Otherwise, you will not be able to select from this manage later on, right? So you can see only have a hose from here. So to add, quite similar, just add a rope from here. Then you can select for multiple sections. Now what we see here is slightly bendable. So I want to add into this area over here. Maybe I want to bend slightly down here and then connect again. Over here, you can have that particular freedom of movement. And later on, if you want to edit the bend, you can also still do that. So what you can do is that you can select a point, then you can just slightly edit, right? Just move it and it will automatically edit for you. So if you want to add more points for you to edit, you can just right click at the line here, and then you can select insert a node. And you can select, let's say I want to add a node over here, and maybe slightly one another node over here as well. Right. It's a node here as well. And then this node later on can be select, and then you can just edit this. But if you want to move slightly specific, you can also just right click at the node and you can select redefine just to pin it right over here. Or you can also use a 3D move. Right? So basically you can just simply drag and just drop away. So that is how you can use to create tube and pipe, right? As well as the flexible hose. Right, so that is all that I like to share with you about the tube and pipe. So thank you again for joining this free online lessons. So I hope I can see you guys again on our next free online lessons. So have a nice day and bye-bye.